gonna take out the spark plugs and see if I can read them. Reading spark plugs is kind of like an old method. An old method to see how it's running, or how it's been running, or if they're, what color they are, stuff like that. I was gonna change all 8 spark plugs, and I can't remember if I did. Cylinder number 1. It's not black and it's not white, so it's not rich and it's not lean. It's just, I don't know, looks okay, looks good. I never gapped them. I just stuck some plugs in it. I can't remember if I changed all 8 or not. AC Delco LTS6 R45. I think I put some anti-seize on the threads or something. Yeah, I think these have anti-seize on the threads. I always put them in with my fingers. Well, it took me about half an hour to find this wobbler extension, but it allows the socket to wobble around a little bit, so it has a weird shape. Allows the socket to wobble around. And this ratchet is like from a tune-up kit, so you can do some pretty interesting things with that. I put the number 1 spark plug back in. Number 1 is going to be at the front on the driver's side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So number 2 is at the front on the passenger side. But I'm just going to keep working. I'm just going to keep pulling this side off, taking these plugs out. On this side, it's really nice to have that handle flexible. This is number 3. It's not white, but it's not black either. Looks pretty good so far. The car seems to be lacking a little bit in power, I think. I'll have to check, but I don't have any misfires. I don't believe I have any misfires, but it seems like it's lacking a bit in power. It might be running a little rich, but it doesn't look like it's running rich. That one might be a little bit lean, if anything. I did change the number 3 injector. I did change that injector. But if it was super lean, it would be like a white color. I mean, it runs fine, but it doesn't have all the power and it doesn't sound all that great. I'm gonna read all the spark plugs, check the fuel pressure. They seem to be getting leaner and leaner, but I don't see anything bad. What do we got here? AC Delco. Cylinder number 7. I think I put way too much anti-seize on these spark plugs. I don't know. Pretty nasty on the threads. Not bad, I guess, so far. Okay, I'm over here on the passenger side now. And what's the first thing you notice over here? Besides the fact that that plug wire is actually sitting on the manifold, aside from that, I'm gonna get some 45-degree wire boots or 45-degree wires. First thing I notice is the color of the tubes. If you look at the color of the stainless tubes, this one here, this front tube, is really blue and purple. That means it's got quite hot, or it's been, yeah, it's hot. And the rest of them are not, they are colored, but they're not blue and purple like that one. So I don't even have to pull the spark plugs to tell that that cylinder is running lean, because a lean condition will burn hot. And this plug here is really white. See how it's really white on the tip there? The electrode is all white. So I think I have I'm pretty sure I have a low contributing cylinder, which means it's firing, but it's not, like, something's not right. So I have a bad AFR on this cylinder. I think it's probably one injector. It's probably like dirt in that one injector or something, because all the other cylinders are firing. Actually, all 8 are firing. You can tell that it's firing because it's hot, but it's too hot. It's lean, and the computer is not telling me that I'm having misfires, but I know, like, when I step on it, it sounds almost like it's running on 7 cylinders. So when you step on it, you're opening the throttle, you're introducing more air. There's not enough fuel. It's already lean as is. So as soon as you open up the throttle, it just gets more lean. So I could tell that something wasn't 100% right. And I'm pretty sure this cylinder is lean. It's hard to tell on the camera. This spark plug is white. There we go. I'm in the light now. This one is like white on the tip. The electrode is white. I was looking at all the other ones. They were nice and brown, nice golden brown, not black. Black would mean rich, or if you're not firing, it would be like wet or black and wet. So it's not definitely not rich, but I think I found the one. I think this is the one. I know that they're all firing because I've pulled the plugs off of the coil packs one at a time while it's running. And that's another old school test you can do too, is pull off like the spark plug wire, or if you have a distributor. But in this case, I just unplug one coil pack at a time. And if you notice a difference, then obviously that one's firing. So if it's running and firing and you unplug it and then it runs like it hesitates, then obviously that one is working, and you plug it back in and it starts working again. Same with the injectors. If you, that's how I found my number 3 injector. The computer wasn't telling me which cylinder, it just said random multiple misfire. But I just went and unplugged each injector one at a time. And when I unplugged the number 3 cylinder, nothing changed. It was running like shit. I unplugged it, it was still running like shit. Plugged it back in. And then I'm like, okay, this cylinder's doing nothing. So when they're all working right, you'll notice that you'll unplug it and it'll like stumble because it'll run on 7, and you plug it back in and it'll run on 8 again. So just by the color here, that cylinder is lean. Lean is hot, and lean is white. So this one is pretty white, pretty hot. I think that makes me happy. Just like, I know it's not right, but it makes me happy knowing that I finally diagnosed what it is, or which one it is. I think it's this injector that would cause it to run lean on one cylinder. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be this injector right here. I've considered changing all the injectors back to the flex fuel injectors. They're bigger and newer. So in order to do that, I would need harness adapters, because I'm using an O2 harness, 2002 harness, and these plugs are different than the flex fuel plugs injectors. So I might change all 8 of them, but for now, maybe I'll just change one. That one might be dirty, or it might be, yeah, it must be dirty because it is working. I've tested the injectors and they're all working, so it's probably dirty. And that doesn't surprise me, because I was talking about the fuel filter previously, and I actually ran it once or twice at the beginning with no fuel filter at all. So that doesn't surprise me if one of the injectors is dirty. That could be my own fault. But all the spark plugs are golden. All of them are nice and gold, except for this one. I haven't done these 3 yet, but I'm pretty sure I found the problem here. And it runs fine, it fires up, it fires on all 8 cylinders. But this is what I call a low contributing cylinder. So you have one cylinder that's just not right. So it is running on all 8. My computer, the random misfire is gone now since I've hooked up my O2 sensors and everything. I know it's firing because it's getting hot, and it is firing on all 8. But that injector must be dirty and not giving quite enough fuel, and that's going to cause a lean condition. And a lean condition is, you can read the plug and it'll be white. It's hard to tell it in the shade here, but that's pretty white. The electrode is pretty white. And I can just tell by the color of that tube. Stainless changes color when it gets hot. The hotter it gets, the more purple it gets. So she's definitely got hot. It's a good thing that I looked at this, because if you run it hot for too long, you can burn up the exhaust valves. I've seen that, and then you can lose compression. So that's a big no-no. I can do a compression test. I've already done one, actually. I could do a compression test on that cylinder and just make sure that it's still good. But I'm pretty sure I have compression. I just have a dirty injector. And I haven't confirmed. I haven't taken the injector out and tested it yet, but I can just tell that this one is firing and it is lean. So I think that's good. I think I've diagnosed the one low contributing cylinder, and I think I've narrowed it down to the injector, and it's pretty good, easy diagnosis. And I haven't even made it through all 8 cylinders yet, but I can see the other ones are gold. They're golden color, and this one is purple. So lost my train of thought somehow. Oh, so I was gonna mention the weird thing that I don't understand right now is the fuel trim data. I was looking at the fuel trim data on the live data, and it was showing plus 5 or 10% on both banks, on drivers and passengers banks. So I don't understand that. This bank here I can understand because it's lean, and it's running on 4 cylinders from the base map, or 4 cylinders on this side, on this bank, and this one's lean, and the O2 sensor picks it up and it says, okay, we need to dump more fuel in, but it doesn't know which cylinder because there's only one O2 sensor, so it dumps fuel, 10% more fuel or whatever, on all 4. So these 3 are running rich because this one is lean, and the computer's adding 5 or 10%, I can't even remember. But then the O2 sensor is going to know that it's running rich, these 3, then it's going to back off. So the fueling's not right, the AFR, and that's why I knew that. That's why I mentioned the O2 sensors, the closed loop, and the mass airflow sensor. So one low contributing cylinder or one dirty injector can mess up a whole bank. But what I don't understand, I do understand that, but what I don't understand is how both banks are showing the same fuel. When I check on the live data, they're showing plus 5 or 10, I can't even remember, plus 5 or 10% on both banks. But this bank looks good. Like, all the spark plugs are golden, all the colors are equal pretty much. So I'm not sure if it is adding 5 or 10% on this bank, or if I was reading it wrong, or why it would add on both banks, because there's 2 banks and 2 sensors. Anyway, just food for thought, I guess. Just something that I think I've got it figured out, but the fuel data was showing 10% on both banks. So that might lead back to the mass airflow sensor again, or the O2 sensors might need spacers, and some people call them defowlers. So I might need to get defowler spacers for the O2 sensors because I have headers. Maybe I'll order the adapters, injector adapters, because I really want to put the stainless steel flex fuel rail back on that came with this engine, but I'm using a different harness. I'm using a 2002 harness, so I'll just have to get harness adapters, injector adapters, maybe. Okay, so I think I've identified a lean cylinder. If you don't have stainless steel exhaust, then I understand not everybody has stainless steel exhaust, but you can use a laser temperature, and you can check the temperature of all 4 with a laser, and shoot that one, check it, shoot that one, check it, and you might have one that's abnormally hot if you don't have stainless steel. This one is almost obvious. As soon as I came around to this side, it was almost obvious. I didn't even have to really pull the spark plugs out to diagnose, just because that color is screaming at me. So next thing I'm gonna do, check my fuel pressure. So I have here the Amazon Blue Driver fuel pressure tester kit. I think they have a couple different ones.